Casper, Wyoming, and I was a crane operator.
Sit Mean Sit in Syracuse, and I was an attorney.
From Sit Mean Sit Syracuse, and I was a vet assistant.
From Sit Mean Sit Syracuse, and I used to be a photographer.
Denver, Colorado, and I used to be a plumber.
Shepherd, Atlanta, Georgia. I was an independent dog trainer.
Sit Mean Sit Denver. I used to be in Air Force Intelligence.
John Langdon, Sit Mean Sit South Denver. Used to be a college
McCarthy, Sit Mean Sit Aurora Parker in Colorado. Transportation management.
Case manager for a nonprofit autism service provider.
Before this, I worked for another training organization. Now I'm a Sit Mean Sit trainer in Denver, Colorado.
Sit Mean Sit Corpus Christi, and I used to be a radio technician.
Gerald from Sit Mean Sit of Ajax, Ontario, Canada, and I used to be a high school student.
Sit Mean Sit Madison, Wisconsin, and I used to be a professional admin.
Brown with Sit Mean Sit Metro Detroit. I used to be a service advisor.
Sit Mean Sit Waukesha and Sit Mean Sit Kenosha, and I used to be a insurance adjuster.
Sit Mean Sit Madison, Wisconsin, and Kenosha, Wisconsin, and I used to be in the military.
Sit Mean Sit Connecticut, Fairfield County, and I was a web designer.
I'm in Cleveland, West Side. I used to be an RN and sell insurance.
Sit Mean Sit Northwest Michigan, and I was in telecommunications.
From Chicago, and before Sit Mean Sit, I was working in management for Nordstrom.
Steve's from Sit Mean Sit Cheyenne and Sit Mean Sit Tacoma, and prior to this, I was actually a veterinary technician.
From Sit Mean Sit Cheyenne. Before this, I did auto body and auto paint.
Sit Mean Sit Palm Beach, and before this, I was a retail executive.
Palm Beach, Sit Mean Sit, and I'm a police officer.
I work in the Frederick, Maryland. Sit Mean Sit as a trainer, and I was in HR.
I'm from Frederick, Maryland, and I used to be in the physical therapy field.
I'm with Sit Mean Sit Rockville, Potomac, and formerly I was an equine specialist.
I'm from Central Texas, and previously I was an accountant.
From Youngstown, Ohio, and I used to be an SAP ERP accountant.
From Longmont, Colorado, and I used to be a photographer.
For Sit Mean Sit Rockville, Potomac, Maryland. And my previous career, I was in corporate sales.
Sit Mean Sit Frederick and Rockville, Potomac in Maryland, and before Sit Mean Sit, I went to college. Went straight into dog training.
From Sit Mean Sit Atlanta. I used to be a high school and middle school teacher and coach.
I'm Sit Mean Sit Austin, San Antonio, and Seattle, and I used to be a software sales engineer.
With Austin, San Antonio, and Seattle as well, and I used to be a baker.
I'm with Sit Mean Sit Northwest Ohio, and I used to be in refinery operator.
I'm with Sit Mean Sit Northwest Ohio, and I'm actually a scrub nurse in the OR.
I'm with Sit Mean Sit Seattle, and I used to be in sales.
Becky, I'm from Sit Mean Sit North Salem, New York, and I used to be a preschool teacher. From Northern Nevada, and I was a housewife artist.
From Houston, Texas, and I used to be a veterinarian assistant.
Pueblo, Colorado, and I'm an ER nurse.
Pueblo, Colorado. I was a warehouse worker before I came to Sit Mean Sit.
I'm from Austin, Texas. Before I worked for Sit Mean Sit, I was also a dog trainer. Before that, I was a bartender.
Smith from Sit Mean Sit Metro Detroit. Before I started working for Sit Mean Sit, I was a college student, worked part-time at a daycare.
I'm in San Antonio, Texas, and before Sit Mean Sit, I was a kennel tech.
From Raleigh, North Carolina, and before Sit Mean Sit, I was with building material distributor.
Sit Mean Sit Metro Detroit, and before this, I was an ophthalmic photographer.
Sit Mean Sit Metro Detroit, #1 franchise, 2014. Was in finance.
I'm with Sit Mean Sit San Antonio and Austin, and I used to work in nonprofit organizations.
I'm in Denver and the Colorado Rockies. Prior to Sit Mean Sit, I was a recruiter.
Sit Mean Sit Cleveland, Akron, and before training dogs, I worked in hospital billing.
With Cleveland West Side Sit Mean Sit, and I was a line cook and a low voltage electrician before this.
I was in the Navy for the past 4 years and worked construction for a year after that, and here I am with Sit Mean Sit as a dog trainer from Oklahoma City.
I was in the Air Force for 8 years, and then got out of the Air Force and bought a franchise in Oklahoma City.
Metro Detroit, psychology student, and landscaper.